Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of The Sober Connection with me, your host, Abi King. Today, I have a guest interview, and my guest today has been sober since 2011. She is the author of 4 books, 3 of which are alcohol specific. She is the community leader for the online community Living Sober over here in New Zealand. And that is government funded by the New Zealand Drug Foundation. Her book was the very first book that I read that was Quit Lit, and it helped me realize that actually I wasn't alone in worrying about my drinking. A lot of her stories were very relatable, and it was really kind of the catalyst for me to start looking at my drinking seriously and look at probably quitting. So huge fan. Actual life-changing person here that I'm talking to today. So I'm really stoked to introduce you all to Lotta Dann. Hi, Lotta.
Kia ora, good morning. Hi,
Kia ora.
Abby.
How are you doing? Thank you so much.
Well, look, full disclosure, this morning at 6 a.m. I was at the airport saying goodbye to my eldest son who's just gone to live overseas. So there have been a lot of tears and raw emotion this morning, but hey, that's
Emotional
what we're here
day.
for, right?
Oh, well, thank you so much for making the time to if I'd known that, I would have rearranged for a different day for today.
No, this is good. Look, this is my favorite subject. So you couldn't actually give me a better thing to do than talk about sobriety.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. You come to the right place. So yeah, I'm really grateful to you for agreeing to come on here with me. So yeah, I've wanted to talk to you and meet you for a very long time. So yeah, so thank you. So we'll just start off. Usually I just talk to most of my guests to just a little bit of a, not that in a nutshell, I guess you can't really do that for a whole drinking career, but yeah, just a background on your drinking career and at what point you sort of realized that maybe it was a bit of an issue and the steps that you took to start becoming sober, please.
Yeah, sure. So, oh my gosh, how much alcohol have I drunk in my lifetime? I started drinking at 15, which is pretty standard in New Zealand. And alcohol was all around me growing up in my home and in the community, obviously. And from the minute I touched it, I really loved it. It was kind of the answer for me. I felt fun and cool and naughty and I now realize it helped me, deal with difficult emotion because I had some stuff going on at home that was kind of tricky. And yeah, I just booze and me, we were pals. And I would say by the age of 18 or 19, I was a daily drinker.
Mm.
And then that's just how I lived up till 39 years old. It was very rare for me to have days off. I can think back so many occasions, travels, jobs, you name it. Like alcohol was just my companion. It's what I did. It's what everyone did. It felt totally normal. That's how it had been presented to me. This is a normal thing. You have a drink at 5 o'clock, and I did very enthusiastically. Yeah, and there's lots of sadness and like lucky escapes, and I mean, so many times I wasn't in my right mind or in my strength, but I managed to get through okay. I want to acknowledge I've got a lot of privilege. I had, got educated, had a career, and all the rest of it. Met a nice man, got married, had babies, all of it. But alcohol was just my steady companion, and it was probably 2 or 3 years before I quit where I started having quite an active internal dialogue about my drinking and really becoming hyper aware that I was always hungover and really struggled to have a day off, and just this kind of back and forth in my mind of like, is this okay? Is this normal? And then the other side of my brain going, yeah, it's fine. Everyone does it. It's just alcohol. It's just wine. What's the problem? And over those last sort of 3 years, I reckon things got really sloppy, really heavy, really furtive, just boozy, and then I started trying every trick in the book to moderate and control, and I just none of it worked. And so, I had my final night of drinking, and it was after that I quit. Yeah, I mean, that's in a nutshell, but
Yeah.
it was pretty hard and painful and terrifying. I mean, you know how terrifying it is to stand on the edge of the sobriety cliff and jump,
Mm.
you feel like your life's going to be over. I mean, I
Yeah.
literally thought all the fun would stop and I'd just be this boring person for the rest of my life. But I was
Yeah.
in a really dark place, so I
Well,
jumped.
that's kind of the story that we're sold, isn't it? That I mean, sobriety, even sober in the dictionary, the definition is that it's something boring, So
Oh, yeah, it's a
it's hard to not
madness.
not think that that would be that's what your life would be like. But so you managed to quit first go, just one go, just that's enough, that's
Once
it.
and done. Yeah, I mean, I had periods where I'd, had a month off or yeah, kind of the odd month off or whatever. But yeah, when I want, and I get that this isn't everyone's experience, often stopping, starting, promising you're going to quit and then not is a normal pattern. But for me, yes, I did. I made that one decision after I'd had my last night drinking, which was just a Monday night binge and hiding an empty bottle from my husband and waking up feeling just so dysfunctional and low, and made that decision to quit. Yeah, I was very determined that I was going to not only remove alcohol from my life, but work out how to be a happy non-drinker, because I had this vague idea that it was possible. I mean, it sounds crazy now, but this is what, coming up, how so, is it 14 years?
Yeah.
um, there were very few, this whole sober, curious, grey area drinking, wonderful movement that we're seeing. It was really, there was very little
Mm.
around. And I had seen the odd famous person on the red carpet on Channel E, like people like Keith Urban and Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
And I knew they were sober and they didn't look miserable. So I had this vague idea from them that there's something, I don't know, but there's a way to not be a miserable sober person, which is what we're kind of sold. And so yeah, so I just quit and that was it. I haven't looked back. I mean, it's been bumpy at times, but never had a drink.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I was the complete opposite. So I read your book, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so I read your book and was kind of like, oh, this sounds very familiar, and I think this this resonates very much with me. I could relate a lot to your stories and just being that sort of tired, exhausted mum with young kids and just constantly just reaching for the bottle just to keep me company. And it had been with me since I was 14. Again, same as you, just loved it from the get-go and just drank to get drunk from the get-go as well. There was no moderating at all with me. But yeah, I read your book, and then it was probably a couple of years later when I turned 40, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. And I did a 90-day challenge and just found it so hard. Like I failed the 90-day challenge, but that's when I really thought, oh, that's when I realized that yes, I do have a drinking problem, because actually I can't quit. Like I just thought that it would be so easy, and
Yeah.
it took me 4 years of trying, and some days every other day was a day one, and then some days I'd always get to about 40, 50 days was about my limit, and then I'd get FOMO and I'd miss my mates or my drinking buddies, and I would just decide, no, I'm going to go back to it. It's
I'm
fine.
good
And then
now. Yeah.
yeah, and then I might drink for 3 months, and then but I'd always come back to it. Always came back to it, and
Mm.
then the drinking stints got shorter, and the sober stints got longer, and I was like, okay, I'm nearly there. Like I knew I'd get it eventually, but it was a slog for
Oh,
four
good
years.
on you. I
Yeah,
mean, what a legend. And, because a lot of people have stop start and then they still do that for years and years. And the
yeah,
fact that you actually eventually came round, but also it kind of speaks to your tenacity that the drinker in you was like determined, that voice that started up 50 days. You're good. You're fine. Go out and meet your mates. You're
yeah,
missing out. Everyone's having a great time drinking. That's
yeah.
that feisty, strong part of you that's now, running a podcast and being this amazing sober person. So
Yeah.
just want to acknowledge that, like we're incredible beings that will stick at and fight at these big changes for some time. But good on you for getting there.
Yeah, well, my mum always said that I was a stubborn little shit. So, yeah, I've proved her right. So,
In the best way possible.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, did you use so you didn't go to AA or anything? You just raw dogged it? Did it all by
Yep,
yourself?
yep, I did. I raw dogged it. I used to go to a gym hungover. in Auckland where we were living at the time, and I knew that in the church opposite the YMCA where I went, were AA meetings, and I used to drive past them and just be nervous to go in. And it's stupid. I now know that everyone in there would have been super lovely.
Yeah.
But for me, I was nervous. I felt so ashamed. I felt very isolated. Like I say, there wasn't a lot of conversation at the time around being sober or stopping drinking. And again, I don't know what it says about my personality, but when I did make that decision, I just set out to do it on my own. I was just going to fix myself. And
Yeah.
I know now that's foolish. I think you do need other people who know and get it and know what it's like to have that internal fight. Like my husband doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that internal dialogue. So you need people that get it. And for me, I was lucky to find them online through this blog I started writing. And so that's where my community built up.
Yeah, yeah. So talk about that then. So you started your blog, Mrs. D Goes Without.
Yeah,
And
Mrs. D is going without. I mean, people sometimes ask me for advice on how to get a book published, but my story is so like simply like it was just such a unplanned organic process. I wrote the first day I was stopped drinking. I wrote myself a letter on a piece of paper with a pen, a red pen. I still have the letter. And it was literally, "Dear Lotta, you are, I'm going to quit drinking." It was a letter to myself, and I signed it, "Dear Lotta," and at the bottom, "Love, Lotta." And it felt really good, like it was just part of me being, determined. And so I decided the next day I'm going to keep writing to myself, but I can't be bothered doing it with a pen and paper, so I'm going to type it online. Because I type fast, I'm a journalist by training. And then I was like, well, rather than do it in a Word document, I'll just open up a free blog template. It'll be a private, hidden, literally space on the internet, and I'll just write to myself every day. And that's what it was. And so I just wrote these letters to myself in this blog, and it was amazingly empowering. And I discovered I had this quite upbeat personality in print. Even on days where I felt quite low, I would write to myself, and it was just fun and amazing. And then slowly people found my blog and started commenting. And I mean, it was like what you say when you read my book, that sense of I'm not alone. I mean, every comment I got on my blog was like an amazing hug. And it just grew and grew until I had thousands of people clicking on my blog every day.
awesome.
And then that turned into a book. So it was all very weirdly easy.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I read Mrs. D is Going Without, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And then obviously you did that one, and then you wrote Mrs. D Is Going Within, and I read them back to back. So I read the first one, but obviously I was still drinking at that point, and I didn't. So explain what Mrs. D Is Going Within is about, because it's it's quite different, but it's very, very important for when you're giving up alcohol. But I didn't realize that at the time, so
And first,
I need to probably reread it.
Thank you for asking me about it, because that book is probably, I'm very fond of that book, and it was hard to write because it's a lot of sort of subtle stuff, but it hasn't, it didn't do as well as any of my other books, and it's kind of sort of flown under the radar book. But every now and then someone will tell me they really got something from it. It was basically like the next stage. I mean, getting sober is really freaking hard at first, because you just have to literally learn how to get through every day and not reach for wine. And when that's been your go-to mechanism for relaxing and de-stressing and bonding with people and all of it, that takes a big learning curve. But after a while, that does just get easier. You do just start living your days, and you don't have that real pull to have a drink. And then life goes on, and life happens. And I found that I was 40 years old and had no kind of tools or ideas or like any habits or anything of how to look after myself on a bad day. I had nothing. Or even just look after myself on a good day. Like, what did I do? I just used to drink wine, and so I had to kind of learn different strategies and techniques. And the biggest one was mindfulness. I don't meditate, but I really do practice mindfulness even now. I'm very aware of what my thoughts are doing. I'm very aware that my thoughts aren't me. They're just puffs of energy from my brain. I still get hopelessly lost in my thoughts, but I do have a observation of them now, which is really helpful. So I tried to articulate that all in the Going Within book, and then just having this concept of like a toolbox where you have different things that you can go to nourish yourself or soothe or ground yourself. And so, yeah, that's what that book's about.
Yeah, yeah. I probably need to reread it actually because, like I said, I read it back to back from without to within, and I didn't really truly grasp well, just what it means to become sober. I thought it was just I just have to stop drinking. Like that's it. Like
Yeah.
that's nothing else is going to change. I'm just going to stop drinking, and I'll have all this money suddenly, which
Yeah.
hasn't eventuated either. But yeah, I like just that idea that getting in touch with your feelings, and I didn't know that I didn't even have that thought that I would feel all these feelings, and
I know, neither.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that is
it's crazy, isn't it?
basically it. That is basically what being sober is all about. Every single day, no matter what happens, you're going to feel it in the raw.
Yeah.
And that is quite something.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It
It's
is. I went
quite
through
something.
I went through a couple of years ago. I left my marriage, and I am so proud of myself that I didn't reach for the bottle at that point, because it would have been very ezy to
Yeah.
go back to drinking. While I moved towns, I moved from central of North Island down to New Plymouth. I didn't know anybody. I've got 3 kids, and so I was trying to make sure that they were okay and make sure that their routine was as normal as possible. And I just remember going down the beach one day, and I'd walked right to the far end of Fitzroy Beach. There was nobody else around, and I sat on a log and I just burst into tears. And I can still feel the pain that I had in my heart. Like I was just so broken from everything that was going on, and something in particular had happened that weekend that just absolutely broke me. And I had never ever felt like that. That was just pure raw emotion, and it still kind of gets me all goosebumpy now. But
Mm.
I just never felt that feeling before. That actual pure
Mm.
emotion and feeling, and but I needed it, and I really appreciated it, because any other time before that I would have just drowned it in alcohol, and I wouldn't have actually, I needed it to process it. I sort of felt so much better after I'd had that. I was bawling,
Yeah.
I was like, on
The
the
fact that you
beach.
say that you can still feel it in your heart now. And look, Abby, you and I can say these words out loud and we know the feeling, but it's very hard to describe to someone the power. And it sounds so cliched. You got to feel the feelings, but it is an unbelievable gift of
Mm,
life to know what it feels like to really feel something, especially hard, and then move, and then time goes on, and then you have that clarity of the feeling,
mm,
and what a difference that makes to your whole experience of life.
yeah,
Like, it is phenomenal.
yeah.
But to just that memory, and the way you're describing it, and I feel tearful too, and maybe that's because I've had an emotional day.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
I get it. It's
Yeah,
so powerful. And you're right. You would have been soaked in wine. That bad thing would have happened. You might have had a cry, but it wouldn't have been that clarity of that depth of this is really fundamentally affecting me. And the
yeah,
fact that you sat and you felt it and you acknowledged that shifts. That's just, it's beautiful.
yeah.
And also, sorry that happened.
Oh yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We're okay most of the time now. So yeah. So you and then your third book is the Wine O'Clock Myth. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I haven't read that. So talk about that one.
It's kind of like if anyone ever wanted to know anything that I think about alcohol, it's in that book. It's more journalism, a little bit memoir journalism, but more journalism.
Yeah.
Just really looking at the whole way that alcohol is positioned in our society, the impact it has on women, the marketing, the messaging we're given, all of it is in
Yeah.
there. And then interspersed between my chapters are these stories of other women's stories of their drinking and the alcohol.
Yeah.
And they're really powerful. And it's just a sense of, there's so many stories. And I'm really proud of that book.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
quite a
you
lot of
should
work.
be. It's amazing.
It was quite a lot of work, but and I sort of drew a line a little bit under I still write all the time about alcohol at Living Sober, but I drew a line under the kind of book writing about alcohol with that book because it's all captured in there.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So I guess on that with that, you touch on the whole kind of mummy wine culture and that toxic movement that.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that you were a mum and you were using wine. I mean, the messaging for women, but mums in particular, that alcohol is our friend, that it's our treat, it's our reward, it's for being hardworking, is really prevalent, especially on social media, but just in the marketing you see, on
Well,
billboards.
even card, you see cards in the
Oh,
shop, birthday cards, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's everywhere, eh? So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all those like gift if you go in those gift stores and there's like slogans on signs, and little gimmicky things. There's so much alcohol related stuff. And
Mm.
it really pisses me off because it's an industry preying on us. We are gloriously emotional, complex beings, women who especially become mothers. We are dealing with so much and so many layers, and for this drug to be pushed as the solution that's going to help us is just so
Mm.
disingenuous and damaging. It's bullshit. Like we Mummy deserves this. It's that kind of awful. Oh, it really angers me now. But look, I was the same. I felt like an adult at 5 o'clock. I'd been at home all day. It can be lonely being a mum. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's exhausting. So I get it. And also no judgment. We know why we did it. The drug works in the
Yeah.
moment. It gives us what we want, but it's a what they say. I quite like this word, maladaptive solution. It actually makes you sleep worse. It cuts you off from your feelings. It disconnects you, and it's a drug and it's addictive. So
Yeah, yeah. I know that definitely I bought into the mummy wine culture, and I had 3 kids under 3, so it was a pretty hectic
wow,
time. Yeah, it was pretty hectic. And my ex-husband and I, we owned a couple of restaurants, and so
wow.
we had that kind of hospitality
Oh my
background, and then
gosh.
3 kids under 3, so
Have
it
you
was a
had
recipe for
twins, or did
disaster,
you just
really.
pop them out fast?
No, I just popped them out. Yeah.
Wow.
One of them, the middle one was Prem, so she arrived a little bit earlier than expected. So there was a bit, it's meant to be kind of like 18, 19 months between them, but
Yeah.
there's only 16 months between the oldest and the middle one. So yeah, she was a little bit unexpectedly early. So
Oh, you would have been
yeah.
so busy.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely bought into that, and I think it's just so sad, like looking back onto. I mean, obviously we can't change it now, but rushing bedtime so that I go, okay, okay, off to sleep, off to sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I haven't got time for that. Just so I can go and sit on the couch and pour myself a glass of
Yeah,
wine, and then
taking
that.
wine into the bedroom to read stories, getting
Yeah,
angry when you get knocked and a little bit
yeah,
spills, all of it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely, yeah, looking back it's pretty bad. But and then it's just so easy to creep up, that kind of that first glass. Oh, we might as well have another one. And then you're mindlessly doom scrolling on your phone with the TV on, and then
Mhm.
the bottle's gone, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, been
Easy to
there,
smash
done
out a
that.
bottle of wine. Yeah, yeah.
And
So
then the wine runs out, and I'd reach for my husband's beers. I don't even like beers, but they'd be in the fridge, and I needed more. I wasn't full yet, I used to call it, so I'd have the beers. I mean, and this is a Wednesday night at like
mm,
9, 10 o'clock. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
it's so insidious.
No, it's crazy. I just used to phone my ex-husband up and go like, "I'll bring back a bottle of wine." Didn't need it at all, but it was just that we had a bar full of
Of
it. So
course,
yeah,
yes.
Anyway, terrible, terrible. What do you think your life would look like if you hadn't given up drinking? So if you kept going as you were going?
I shudder to think. I think that I would be really much unhappy, more unhappy, and just I use the word disconnected, but also confused. I think I'd be confused about how I feel, how I am, how I process things. I'd just be lost. I really honestly think I'd be lost. And I mean, who knows how it would have gone if I'd kept drinking, because it was really starting to progress at the end.
Hmm.
I was needing more and faster and earlier and all the rest of it. So yeah, I don't know what my life would look like. I don't think my kids realize how I changed their lives by quitting. I think my husband does, and I certainly do. So yeah, honestly, I can't even imagine, and I can't even imagine drinking. Like the thought of like at least a bottle a night, often more, every night is just madness to me. Like I can't imagine it.
And how good is that though? That's awesome, eh? That's progress.
God, red wine, red wine, red wine. So much red wine. But
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, same. How old were your kids when you gave up?
My eldest, who's just flown
Flown the nest?
away, is nearly 21. So he was about 6, I think.
Right.
They can't actually really remember me drinking.
That's great.
And they haven't read my books. They're not interested in that. You know,
Yeah.
mum's boring. So
It'll be good though at a later stage. I'm sure they will. You know,
that's
they'll
what
get
I
that
always
sort of
say.
appreciation again.
I say, you'll read it when I'm dead. And then you'll be like, oh my God, she was amazing. And they're like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah, so that's cool. That I think that's amazing. A friend of mine, I met her a few years ago. When I first met her at the gym, I'm pretty open with my drinking story, and so I was like, "Oh, I don't drink," and she said, "Oh no, me neither." And she's over 4 years sober now, but she doesn't. She's very, very quiet about it. But yeah, her kids can't really remember her drinking, you know, and it's so good. Whereas mine, you know, my middle daughter asked me, well, pretty much said that she didn't like the sound of my voice when that was the catalyst for me to quit. So my
Really?
kids
What age
definitely.
were they?
So Zoe, so they would have been 10, 9, and 7
Oh, yeah.
when Leah said that. So yeah, they're sort of like in their teens now. But yeah, that was kind of that was a bit of a shock for me that the kids are noticing and you know I need to make that change, and I'm really proud of myself that I did actually listen and I did make the
Yeah.
change, because I mean some people just ignore that, you know,
Yeah,
but I wanted
that's
to be a good
right.
role model for my kids, and
Amazing.
it's cool because they saw me go through those 4 years of trying, and even though you know, they'd come in sometimes, I'd be pouring a glass of wine, whereas I'd had like 2 or 3 weeks of sobriety, and then, okay, mum's drinking again, you know, and that look of disappointment would always kind of just get me in the heart. And, you know, I think that's why I kept coming back to it and kept trying. But now they're so proud of me. Like
I
you know, they
bet.
buy me stuff all the time just to, you know, when it's a
Oh,
certain milestone, and they're just so supportive.
I
It's really
love
cool.
that. And
Yeah.
also to watch you dig deep and do something that was obviously really hard. You know, what an amazing example to set. And because they're going to come up against hard things. And also, I bet you're way more emotionally connected to them now. What about the late night conversations with teenagers? I just can't think. Because they come to life at fucking 9, 10 p.m. You know, the kitchen's a disaster. But I wouldn't have been capable of having those convos
No,
back in the
absolutely.
day. It wouldn't have in the slightest. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We always have dinner together, the four of us, because they live with me during the week and they go to school down here in New Plymouth, and then they go to their dad's most weekends. So we have dinner here every night, and you know, we catch up on the day. And the two eldest ones, the youngest one's a little bit quieter, but the two eldest ones, they'll just roast each other, and it's pretty funny. But then the middle one comes into my room every single night and just talks nonstop for about half an hour while, you know,
Oh,
before she goes to bed. So it's yeah,
that's
I'd
lovely.
never have that if I was still
No,
drinking, because I'd be telling them to bugger off, you know.
no.
So
Or even just being there in the conversation, but with that veneer,
but not being there.
not being there. Even
Mm.
one glass of wine, if you're in a convo with someone, it makes a you know, there's a slight veneer
Disconnect.
that's
Yeah.
there that's not quite connected in the same way. I try really hard not to judge because I get it. And also, not everyone has a problem with alcohol. There are people that can drink it moderately, but even one glass, I'm like, oh, it's just, I love hanging out with sober people was my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you get proper true 100% presence and
Yeah.
authenticity is great, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Again, it's a cliched word, but yes, so true. You can't sort of not be. It was like this morning at the airport, I was collapsed in an absolute heap, and my son is traveling with 2 mates, and all their parents were there, and everyone else seemed to be really holding it together, and I just completely, I had to run. I just was like, I have to go now, just give me a big hug, and I ran away because I was like, I can't hold it in. This is who I am. I'm very, very watery. It's the type of person I am, but I'd spent 20 years of drinking trying not to be that, but it is who I am. I cry at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's much better at that now. And I know that letting it out is actually, things are sad.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
tears are there for a reason. Let it out, and it's a much better way to live.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What do you think? So what have been the best things that you've discovered about yourself? Because often say that it's not so much recovery but discovery, because you've been drinking for such a long time. 30 years of my life I was just drinking, and maybe even more than that. But I didn't have the time during that time to really discover who I was and what I liked and what I actually am as a person. I had this persona, but it's looking back, it's nothing like what I am like now. So what were the surprising things that you found about yourself that you were like, oh, I didn't think that was me?
The watery thing, definitely. Just how sadness is really on top for me, and it's still my go-to emotion. As much as I'm working on letting anger in when anger is appropriate and other things, I have a view sadness is my natural kind of hurt, and sad is my natural go-to. And I had to come to terms with that and accept it. But it's so interesting. Every year that goes by, you learn more. And only now in my last couple of years, really, have I started really unpicking the fact that, I spend so much energy trying to get every single person I meet to like me. It's someone not liking me is my absolute worst nightmare,
Nightmare. Yeah.
which is a nightmare way to live because not everyone's going to like you. But I'm realizing this about myself. I'm realizing why I'm like that. Things happened in my formative years that gave me a message that, at a time where it really cut deep.
Yeah.
And so I'm unpicking some of that, it sounds like a cliche, but that kind of people pleasing desperation to be liked all the time, and compromising sometimes how I'm actually, well, not expressing how I'm truly feeling. So I'm trying to be brave at the minute and do that more. So, would I be doing this now at 53 if I hadn't got sober at 40? Probably not. So it is a gift that keeps on giving. And also I've discovered about myself that I don't need alcohol to have fun. Like we were dancing at my son's farewell dinner on Sunday night. We were dancing in the kitchen to Daft Punk and doing the dishes, and I love going to concerts, and I love just having escape rooms and like having fun. And I thought that was the boozy Lotta that was like that, but it's actually naturally who I am. So yeah, there's been a lot to learn.
Yeah. 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 What do you think has been the worst things for you to deal with getting sober?
The sadness felt like the worst at first because it was overwhelming. But I'm more in touch with sad me now, and I'm feel very gentle and tender towards her.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest? Oh, I don't know. Anything I could say is really the hardest because I've really tried to look at all the positives of it. Um, yeah, I mean, the hardest is just being raw all the time and feeling everything all the time because life is hard
Yeah.
and I don't have any escape ever. But that's actually not a bad thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that have you got other things that you've picked up along the way that you can use to use? So for me, I try and work out most days, and that's kind of like my release. And especially when I first moved down here and I was going through the separation, I'd said to the kids, I'm going to go to the gym every single day for an hour. That's going to be my release, and that's my thing that I'm going to do just to kind of get out of my head for an hour. So
Yeah.
is there anything like that you do?
God, I wish I was like that. I exercise because I know that if I don't, I feel guilty, but I've never had a high from exercise, and it is a fight every time I go to the gym. My brain is trying to talk me out of it in the like 5 hours beforehand. Like it's not something that comes to me naturally. In that Mrs. D is Going Within book, I had a toolbox and I talked about what was in it then. And what I've noticed over my years of being sober is that things come and go as you kind of go to, something that maybe worked for me 5 years ago might not be something I'm doing now.
Yeah,
So I
right.
have ways to kind of soothe or ground or entertain myself, which is like things like doing jigsaw puzzles, cooking, walking the dog. I do a little bit of colouring in. I love watching reality TV. I watch reality TV with one earbud in while I'm cooking and doing jigsaw puzzles.
Okay.
That is
Yeah,
my happy place. um, yeah, and I also, to be fair, I work really hard. Like the last book that I wrote while working a full-time job and a part-time job. So I do spend quite
Wow.
a lot of hours on my bum with my fingers on the keyboard.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I just potter around my house, doing lovely things, hanging out with people I love, and yeah,
Yeah.
so far so good on the staying sober front.
Yeah. No, I think you've nailed it, Lotta. I think you've done all right. Have you got a couple of two or three golden nuggets maybe for the listeners that are kind of just starting out, thinking that sobriety is going to be boring and they'd be better off sticking on with their wines? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to you because I know what it's like to be in that place where you've got that little inner voice that's maybe niggling away that things aren't good. And then the internal struggle. It's a really hard place to be. Um, Listen to that little voice though, because it is the wise part of you that's going to be down the track so grateful that you did the hard work and got sober if that's what you need to do. So trust that voice inside of you and try and amplify that as much as possible. Reach out to others who are doing the same thing, and there's a lot of online spaces where you can do that now, or go in the rooms if you want the in-person support. The website I run, livingsober.org.nz, is free to join and you can be anonymous, so there's no barriers to entry. And then the big one is just believe that change is possible. You know, if I had $1 for everyone that said to me, God, if I can get sober, anyone can,
Yeah.
I'd be a rich woman, because people often think, God, you know, that I never thought that would happen and I did it. Lots of people feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
you can do it. Believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. It just seems so unattainable, doesn't it, when you're sort of in the thick of it, I guess. But yeah, it's 100% possible. You just got to put the work in. You just got
Yeah,
to
and
be
also
prepared to do the work.
know that we are living in a mad time of alcohol saturation, where this drug has been allowed to become so entrenched in our societies. It's cheap, it's available everywhere, it's heavily marketed with bullshit slogans, and we will look back at this time, I believe, the things are going to change. We'll have tighter regulations, and we'll look back at this time like we do now with cigarettes, where we're like, oh my God, cigarettes, you know, they sponsored the cricket and you could smoke at the movies and on the bus.
And on
There
the
will come a
plane.
time when we look back at alcohol in the same way. It is a drug, it is carcinogenic, and it is addictive. And it is crazy that it sits next to the bread and milk in the supermarket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. What do you think that I mean, obviously I'm from the UK originally, and I do you are my first New Zealand guest, so congratulations. And the people that I've had previously are people that I've met through the online sober community. So just we've supported each other through our own sobriety stories. So, yeah, the different. I don't think that there's much difference between New Zealand drinking culture and the UK drinking culture. Do you feel like it's changing in New Zealand at all, or
Yeah.
what do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do. In terms of the groundswell, like we've said before, like just even the people who are being open about being sober, from celebrities to, you know, just people in the public eye, but also just online, you know, influencers or people like yourself who are doing podcasts or have, you know, communities they're starting up or groups on Facebook, or they're just posting on their own social media about the fact that they've quit. I mean, that is so much more prevalent now than it was when I quit. So yes, I do think, and this whole grey area drinking, you know, sober curious discussion, just the availability of non-alcoholic drinks, all of that has changed. What hasn't changed is the regulations, which are the things that are really going to change our culture. And that's what we need shifted. We need the marketing curtailed, and the availability, and ultimately the price. Those are the things that are actually going to shift our culture. But yes, I think it's starting to happen. And there's the odd politician who's up for it, but the industry has still really got its claws in. They do really effective lobbying, and they're just way too powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's like you're up an uphill battle, really. But the more of us that kind of go against the grain, that's then we'll become the norm, and we won't
Yeah,
we won't be the ones that look like the weirdos for not drinking an alcoholic, a
exactly.
poison.
All the cool people are sober nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Lotta, it's been awesome. So can you please just give us some details? Obviously, I'll put them in the show notes as well, but just where listeners can find you. So all your contact details would be great.
Yeah, so on Facebook, I don't post a lot, but Mrs. D is going without. And Instagram is, I think it's at Mrs. D Alcohol Free. But the place where I hang out the most, I still write, I'm in the community there, is the Living Sober website and community, which is livingsober.org.nz, and we have members from all over the world, and it's free to join, and you can be anonymous. So what's stopping you?
Yeah, perfect. And your books, obviously, we've got Mrs. D is going without, Mrs. D is going within. We've got the wine o'clock myth, and then your most recent one we didn't talk about, but just tell us about that one quickly.
Mrs. D is not on a diet. Because
yes,
my new outrage is freaking diet culture, and that's a whole nother podcast. But that book's been out like 2 months. It's very new. It's very raw. It's very honest, and I am most diet culture is another very damaging.
The next big thing to attack.
Yeah.
No, I agree. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really cool to talk to you.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and don't feel too sad about your son who's going to, have the most amazing adventures. So
he is, bless him. Yeah. I know, I'm going to the movies with my other son, so.
Oh, very cool. Well, you have a great day. I'll just finish off. So thank you to everybody for listening. Episode 8. Can't believe that we're already up to episode 8 already. It's been amazing. I will put all of Lotta's details on the show notes. Also, if you wanted to find a link for to get Lotta's books, if you go onto my website, the details of which will be on the show notes, there's a resources page on my website, and Lotta's books are there, and they're linked to, you can click on them. I think it goes to Amazon, so if you want to buy, or Audible if you want to just listen to them, so you can do that. Riverside FM is who I use for my podcasting and my editing, and then we also use Buzzsprout to distribute to Spotify and all the other places where you listen. Next week we will have another short and sharp podcast just with me, and I'll just find some tips and tricks to give you. I'll work out what those will be sometime during the week when I have a spare minute. But thank you all so much for listening, and I'll catch you soon. So thank you, Lotta. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Abby. Bye.
All right, take care.